The classroom door hissed open on pneumatic hinges, and General Cathar's shadow swallowed the light from the corridor. Mira's pencil froze mid-note, her heart slamming against her ribs as the alien general's clawed boots thudded across the scuffed linoleum. His carapace gleamed under the fluorescence, iridescent blue plates etched with rank insignia that no human could read, and his multifaceted eyes swept the room like targeting scanners. "Class dismissed," he rumbled, voice a gravelly echo amplified by his translator collar. Desks scraped as students bolted, whispers dying under his glare. Ms. Ree stood frozen at the front, her lesson plans clutched like a shield. Mira didn't move. She was 16, not some kid who scattered at a barked order. Not when Jonas's face, pale, freckled, trusting, flashed in her mind. He'd be in the junior wing right now, oblivious. Cathar's gaze locked on her. Mira Halverson. The name hung like a verdict. He unfolded a data slate with one taloned hand, projecting holographic text that flickered in the air. Decree of challenge, exemplar designation. By authority of the Occupation Accord, you are selected as public exemplar of human submission. You will demonstrate compliance in the central plaza at dusk. All will witness. Gasps rippled from the stragglers. Mira's throat tightened. Challenges weren't just shows. They were breaks. Families split, kids shipped to re-education pods if you flinched wrong. She'd seen the vids, humans kneeling, armbands blazing scarlet, voices cracking as they recited loyalty oaths. A prefect in gray enforcer fatigue shoved through the door behind Cathar, his stun baton humming faintly. "On your feet, Halverson. Armband time." He thrust a coil of scarlet fabric at her, the material shot through with embedded trackers that pulsed like veins. Mira's chair scraped back as she stood, but she planted her feet. "No," the prefect blinked, baton rising. "Decrees law. Don it or get dragged." Ms. Ree stepped forward, hands raised. "General, please, this is a learning hour." Mira's compliant in records. "Can we?" "Compliance is not recorded," Cathar cut in, his mandibles clicking. "It is performed." He waved the prefect on. The enforcer lunged, fingers grazing her sleeve. Mira twisted away, slamming her desk into his knee. Pain flared in her shoulder from the impact, but she backed toward the chalkboard, eyes on Cathar. "You want a show? Make it public. Not this snatch and grab in my classroom." Students hovered at the door, Jonas's friend Timmy peeking from the hall. Word would hit the junior wing in minutes. Cathar tilted his head, eyes narrowing to slits. Defiance. Escalates. Sanction. School privileges revoked immediately. Nizdak Ree's face drained white. "General, wait. The Accord allows procedural grace for minors. 24 hours. I'll sign the interim order myself. Temporary compliance. No sanctions on the institution." Cathar's claws drummed his slate, a rhythmic threat. Mira saw the calculation in his stillness. Spectacle needed witnesses, not brawls. 12 hours. Sign. Ms. Ree snatched a projected form, stylus trembling as she scrawled her code. The hollow, sealed with a chime, broadcasting to the occupation net. Relief flickered in her eyes, but it died fast. "Mira, go with him now. Please. Not without rules." Mira's voice cracked, but she held Cathar's stare. "Jonas. God, if they yanked him now, he'd end up in those sterile dorms. No mom, no her." Impulsive fire burned her chest. Backing down meant Jonas knelt next. The general's mandibles parted in what might have been amusement. "Rules are mine." "Then write them here." She snatched a stub of chalk, slashing the board. 1. Public only. No family separation pre-challenge. 2. Verbal oath. No implants.
3. 1 witness per side.
Carthar's eyes gleamed. He stepped to the board, taloned finger etching over her words in glowing alien script that the room's translator walls echoed. Additions like failure voids all human exemptions, and exemplar binds kin. But he let her point stand, slate syncing the board's feed to the net. Formal now. "Binding." Ms. Ree whispered. "Mira, don't. Brother Jonas Halverson's enrollment hinges on this." Cathar's claw jabbed the fresh line he'd added. "Kin compliance clause. Withdraw consent. He transfers to supervised care. Effective now." Mira's world narrowed to that name on the board, chalk dust gritty under her nails. Jonas, 9 and scrawny, building block towers in the corner of their cramped apartment, asking why the skyships blotted the stars. She'd promised him school stayed human, promised Mom before the fever took her. Her flaw roared up, impulse screaming to smash the slate run to him. But that'd doom them both. Defiant smart, not stupid. She nodded once, throat raw. Under these terms. Recorded. Cathar's plates shifted. A ripple of satisfaction. The prefect lowered his baton, armband dangling forgotten. Ms. Ree sagged against her desk, eyes pleading for Mira to bolt anyway. The general raised his voice for the lingering holocams. The exemplar consents. Humanity's will bends to order. Then, quieter to her, Dusk, Plaza, where the Halversons lose residency. Schooling. All. The words landed like shrapnel. No home, no school. Jonas in pods, eyes wide with that lost puppy fear. Mira's fists clenched, chalk crumbling in her palm. She'd kneel if it bought time, but not break. Not while she breathed. Cathar turned for the door, prefect trailing. Ms. Ree touched her arm, gentle, urgent. Get to Jonas, now. Hide him if you have to. Mira bolted past, hallway blurring. Timmy grabbed her sleeve. Jonas is in art. Cathar's guys are already there. Her sneakers pounded tile, pulse thundering. The challenge wasn't just her neck now. It was everything. She burst into the junior wing, air thick with paint and crayons. Jonas sat cross-legged on the mat, tongue out as he glued glitter to a ship drawing. Two prefects loomed at the door, batons ready. Jonas! She scooped him up, his small body warm and startled against her chest. We're going home. He clutched his glue stick, but class. Not today, prefects advanced. But she shouldered past, Carthar's decree burning in her mind. 12 hours. Rules on the board. She'd turn their spectacle into a trap. Outside, the plaza loomed under occupation banners. Crowds already gathering for dusk. Whispers chased her. The girl who wrote the rules. Cathar wanted submission. She'd give him a fight wrapped in compliance. Jonas squirmed. Mira, what's the scarlet mean? Nothing. She lied, hugging him tighter. Just a game, and we're winning it. But doubt gnawed. Impulse had locked her in. One slip at dusk, and they'd lose it all. Residency stripped. Schooling gone. Jonas shipped away. The cost clawed deeper than any baton. She ducked into shadows, plotting her stand. Mira slipped from the alley's gloom into the crowded civic hall, her pulse hammering as counselors droned through the chamber's holographic feeds. The chalkboard rules she'd scrawled in Miss Trios, Wee's classroom, witnesses, recorded proceedings, no alterations, flickered on every screen now, etched into official mandate by the city council's unanimous vote. Codified, the lead counselor intoned, voice flat over the murmurs. Tribunal proceedings commence under these constraints. 2 human adjuncts for optics. Challenge set for dawn cycle, 3 days hence. Ms. Ree's name hit Mira like a gut punch. The teacher's face paled on a side feed, but she nodded stiffly. Mira clenched her fists in the throng, the air thick with alien incense and human sweat. No time to waste. She pushed through the dispersing crowd, spotting Lena and Tariq. Her classmates sharp-eyed and loyal from late-night strategy whispers. You in? Mira hissed, grabbing Lena's sleeve. Lena's dark braids swung as she nodded. Registered witnesses, right? Let's make it stick. Tariq adjusted his cracked glasses, voice low. We train now. Band stuff. Pressure points. Feints. Rules say no lethal aids, but human grit? That's fair game. By dusk, they huddled in the school's abandoned gym, shadows pooling under emergency lights. Mira demonstrated first, a quick hip throw from her uncle's old wrestling vids, banned under assimilation edicts for promoting unchecked aggression. Lena mirrored it, grunting as she flipped Tariq onto the mat. Pivot on the heel, Mira coached, sweat stinging her eyes. Aliens expect compliance. We give them chaos within lines. Tariq rose, rubbing his shoulder, but his grin was fierce. Hours blurred. Joint locks, evasion drills, breath sinking like a secret heartbeat. Trust coiled tight between them. Fragile, but real. Next morning, Mira cornered Ms. Ree in the staff corridor, the affidavit scanner's glow reflecting off the teacher's wire-rimmed glasses. You filed compliance? Full transparency, right? Rules demand it. Ms. Ree's hand trembled on the device, sealing the school's budget lifeline. Mira, this keeps lights on. Food programs, Jonas's spot. Her voice cracked, eyes darting to the hall's surveillance drone. Full docks? They'd gut us. Carthar's panel needs leeway. You withheld from me. Mira's voice rose, betrayal hot in her throat. I'm the challenger. Witnesses need everything. Ree stepped closer, whisper urgent. Protecting you means protecting the school. All of you, trust the process. But her Flinch said otherwise, the fracture spider-webbing between them. Mira stormed out, fists balled, the gem's drills echoing hollow now. Drones buzzed the Halverson doorstep that afternoon. Cathar's order blasting from public channels. Random inspections authorized. Halverson minor relocated to monitor dormitory pending challenge outcome. Familia leverage stabilized. Mira raced home, but armored vans idled already. Handlers in sleek exosuits prying Jonas from the kitchen table. Jonas! She shoved past a drone, grabbing his arm. His wide eyes locked on hers, backpack clutched like a shield. Mira, they said it's temporary. His voice quavered, 9 years old and too brave. The lead handler's translator hummed. General's directive, non-compliance escalates. They pried him free, his small hand slipping from hers as the van sealed. Mira lunged, but Lena and Tariq hauled her back, her screams raw against the engine's whine. The house stood empty after, inspections ripping drawers, scanners probing walls for subversion caches. She slumped on the bare floor, Jonas's toy shuttle in her palm, the weight of it crushing. Protect him. Defy them. The line blurred bloody. Tribunal reconvened at midnight, chamber packed with feeds piping to occupation hubs. Mira stood at the challenger's podium, voice steady despite the quake in her gut. Stipulation: challenge under recorded chalkboard constraints only. No amendments. Witnesses affirm. Cothar's panel stirred, his adjuncts murmuring. Miss Ree, robed in overseer black, cleared her throat. Precedent allows review. No. Mira slapped the holopad, replaying the council feed. Codified. Public. Deny this. You void the mandate. The crowd hushed. Even Ree hesitated, her affidavit gambit exposed. Qatar's eyes narrowed, scales rippling. Accepted. Proceed under constraints. A murmur rippled. Victory. Thin as foil. Mira exhaled, but the general's mandibles parted in a slow click. However, the chamber's lights dimmed fractionally, tension coiling. Miss Ree unrolled a concealed scroll on the tribunal slab, voice mechanical. Provision 18.4. Concealed by assimilation charter. General Cathar may demand irreversible biological tests on human challengers to verify loyalty markers, neural scans, genetic baselines, non-reversible. Mira's blood iced. The crowd gasped. Lena gripped the witness rail, Tariq's face ashen. Cathar leaned forward, gaze pinning her. You force my hand, human. Tests precede the challenge. Refuse and forfeit. Jonas remains in dormitory. Indefinitely. Mira's throat tightened, the forum's humid air turning thick as Cathar's words hung like a blade. She forced her voice steady, eyes locked on his scaled face. What kind of test, General? Spell it out for everyone here. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or disdain. The Assimilation Codex, Section 47B. Irreversible biological verification. It confirms human compatibility for challenge participation, or exposes defects. The crowd murmured, but he waved a clawed hand. Refuse, and your forfeit stands. Jonas and dormitory oversight, forever. She broke eye contact first, pulse hammering, and shoved back from the rail. Lena whispered, Mira, don't. But Mira was already weaving through the throng, past staring faces and alien enforcers. Her mind racing to the one place she could fight this, the school's restricted archives. If there was dirt on that codex, she'd find it before they dragged Jonas away. The archive room smelled of stale circuits and recycled air, its terminals flickering under dim emergency lights. Mira slipped in after hours, badge cloned from a forgotten maintenance code. Risky, but Jonas's face in her head made hesitation impossible. Her fingers flew over the interface, querying Codex 47B. Buried in subfolders marked Administrative Override, the provision glowed on screen. General authority may mandate irreversible bioscan on any nominated human, results binding and non-appealable. Irreversible. Her stomach nodded, not just a check. Something that could rewrite blood, rewrite them. Cathar's secret weapon, slipped into the rules no one read. She snapped a holoscan of the text, pulse quickening as the door hissed behind her. Ms. Ree stood there, arms crossed, her face a mask of weary defeat. "Mira, you shouldn't be here." "I had to see it." Mira straightened, holding up the hollow. "This is what he's threatening? And you knew?" The teacher's eyes flicked to the screen, then away. "I suspected. The funding notices came this morning. Cut off unless we comply with pre-challenge protocols." She pulled a stylus from her pocket, hesitating. "I promised you'd have time to prepare, Mira. No surprises. But the school. The kids like Jonas. Don't." Mira's voice cracked. "You swore you'd block any hidden clauses." Ms. Pat re-sighed, stepping to the admin terminal. Her hand trembled as she keyed in her override, stylus dancing across the authorization pad. "Approved. Biotest for Halverson. M funding secured." The confirmation chimed, cold and final. "You broke it," Mira whispered, betrayal burning like acid. "For credits. For all of them." Miss Ree's gaze hardened, but tears glistened. "One girl's stand doesn't save a school. Go home, Mira, before enforcers come." Mira snatched her hollow drive, backing away. This isn't over. She didn't sleep. Dawn broke with her, huddled in the family hab unit. Jonas curled asleep beside her, still here, for now. The drive burned in her palm. Deeper dive, archived comms logs, flagged Cathar directive. Messages flew up. Ms. Re to alien liaison. Provision 47B not public. Confirm secrecy for compliance incentives? Reply, affirmative. Exposure voids all human institutional autonomy. Proof. Ironclad that it was buried on purpose. Mira patched her drive to an encrypted relay, fingers shaking as she beamed the files to the Human Solidarity Network. Off-world contacts who'd smuggled data before. Leverage. Secret biotest clause in Codex. Threatens kids. Need amplification. Send. No turning back. If Cathar traced it, dormitories were the least of their worries. By midday, retaliation hit like a storm. Sirens wailed over the school feed, enforcers storming the quad. Mira watched from a rooftop perch, breath fogging her visor. Lena, quiet Lena, who'd gripped the rail yesterday, yanked from class, claws on her shoulders as they paraded her to a hover transport. "Collaborator sympathizer," the lead barked, broadcasting to every wrist pad, then the armbands. Scarlet synthweave stamped with Cathar's sigil, slapped on every kid in Mira's cohort. Punitive mark. No hiding now. Scarlet meant searches, curfews, whispers of disloyal, Tariq messaged. "They're watching us all. Lena's gone to holding. Your fault?" Mira's chest ached. Her class, branded for her dig, but the files were out. Solidarity pinged back. Received. The civic forum pulsed with twice the crowd that evening. Humans packed shoulder to shoulder under the dome's harsh glare. Aliens perched on elevated dais. Scarlet armbands glowed like wounds amid the gray uniforms. Mira climbed the witness platform uninvited. Holodrive clutched tight. Cathar loomed at center stage, mandibles flexing as he scanned the murmurs. "General!" Her shout cut through static. Heads turned, enforcers tensed. Your codex hides more than tests. Section 47B. Secret provision for irreversible bioscans. Here's the proof. She thrust the hollow aloft, projecting the text and comms in blinding blue. Gasps rippled. A human rights rep in the back nodded fiercely. Catar's eyes narrowed to slits. Rising slow. Insolence. "Those archives are sealed. By your orders." Mira's voice held, though knees quaked. Jonas's face flashed. Dormitory eyes. Alien hands. But this was bigger now. Exposure. Irreversible. Like the test. The crowd pressed forward, scarlet bands flashing defiance. He signaled, and drones hummed alive, projecting his decree across the dome. "Human Mira Halverson. Your leak forces escalation. Proceed with publication, and I order Jonas Halverson's immediate transfer, off-world, to Assimilation Prime. No. Appeal." The words landed like a gut punch. Mira froze, the hollow flickering in her grip. Off-world, gone, into the void where humans vanished. The crowd hushed, her classmates' faces blanched under scarlet. Lena's empty seat echoed in her mind. Ms. Purr, Ree's betrayal stung fresh. But the files beamed wide already, whispers spreading. Jonas whimpered in her memory, and she gripped the rail harder. Push, and lose him forever. Hold back. and submit everyone. General Cathar's segmented claws clicked against the podium's edge, his multifaceted eyes sweeping the crowded civic forum like a predator scanning for weakness. "Ms. Ree," he intoned, voice a resonant grind through the translators. "You will preside over this demonstration protocol. Affirm the staged compliance, or your school's charter dissolves here and now." Mira's fists clenched in her lap, heart slamming against her ribs, as the human crowd, parents, teachers, kids like Jonas crammed into the back rows, shifted uneasily. Miss Ree stood frozen at the tribunal table, her graying bun tight as her lips, eyes flicking to the alien security drones hovering overhead. The air stank of sweat and ozone from the force fields sealing the exits. Mira had pushed them here, invoking the challenge rules to drag this secret provision into the light, but now Cathar twisted it into his spectacle. Push, and lose Jonas forever. Hold back, and submit everyone. Ms. Ree swallowed hard, her voice cracking but steady. "I affirm the protocol for demonstration purposes only, General, under human oversight protocols." Insufficient. Cathar's mandibles parted in what Mira knew was a smile, all teeth and triumph. He gestured, and a holographic display bloomed above the forum. Schematics of the secret provision. A clause buried in the occupation edicts allowing unilateral alien control over human youth programs, like Jonas's school. If any challenge failed, preside fully, or watch your charges transferred to re-education camps by dawn. The crowd murmured, a human counselor halfway down the tribunal line. Old Mr. Vargas, Mira remembered, who'd lost a son to the early purges, slammed his palm down. "This is theater. The rules require a full vote." Mira shot to her feet before she could stop herself, voice cutting through the rising noise. "Registered witnesses present." She pointed to the 5 humans she'd lined up last night, 2 parents from Jonas's class, a retired judge and council backups all nodding grimly from the front rows. "Under Article 17 of the Integration Accords, I invoke formal adjudication. The secret provision demands tribunal vote, not your unilateral decree, General." Cathar's eyes locked on her, iridescent and unblinking, but he didn't interrupt. Miss Ree exhaled shakily, seizing the thread. "The challenger is correct. Witnesses verified. Tribunal we review." Chaos rippled through the human counselors. Vargas stood first, then 2 more, women Mira didn't know but whose faces twisted with the same war-scarred fury she'd seen in her own mirror. "Defect to full review," Vargas barked. "No secrets, no overrides. 4 counselors now. Half the tribunal." Shoving back from the table as holographic ballots flickered to life, the crowd erupted, protesters surging forward, chants of "vote, vote," clashing with alien enforcers' warning klaxons. Mira's pulse thundered. Jonas was back there somewhere, small hand probably gripping a stranger's sleeve, but this was it, the fracture she'd gambled on. Cathar's claw slashed the air. Security units detained dissenters. Protesters, stand down or face dispersal. Drones whirred down like hornets, energy nets snapping out to snag Vargas mid-shout. He twisted, face purpling as the field hauled him toward the side exits. 2 more counselors thrashing in identical restraints, human protesters scattered, screams echoing off the vaulted ceiling, but a dozen held ground, linking arms in front of the tribunal. Mira dodged a stray net, breath ragged, tasting blood where she'd bitten her cheek. They're dying for this. For Jonas, for all of them. Ree vaulted the table, her sensible flat skidding on the polished floor. "I resign my post, effective immediately." She yanked a data chit from her collar, slamming it onto the podium. Her hands shook, but her eyes burned, signature authority relinquished. No more unilateral stamps from this office. Procedural legitimacy requires a clean slate. Vote now, or it's null under every accord. The forum froze. Cathar's mandibles snapped shut, his bulk looming as security paused, nets humming mid-air. Ms. Welpy, Ree's career, years shielding kids like Jonas from reassignments, gone in a breath. Mira met her gaze across the chaos, a nod passing between them like a shared wound. The woman had chosen, flaws and all, caution shattered for loyalty. Cathar recovered first, his voice booming colder now, stripped of spectacle, resignation noted, and irrelevant. Invoke Unilateral Enforcement Clause 9b. The hologram shifted, red text crawling. Any tribunal overturn revokes citywide school rights. Youth programs forfeit to authority oversight. Non-compliance. Dissolution. Gasps rippled out. Hundreds of kids, Jonas's friends, whole classes, ripped from human hands. Parents in the crowd sagged, one woman nearby clutching her toddler whispering, "No, God, not again." Mira's stomach knotted. Cathar had layered the trap deeper, turning her win into a massacre of innocents. The remaining counselors wavered, ballots flickering undecided. A security drone hovered at Mira's shoulder, its speaker crackling. Challenger Halverson. Private channel, general offers evacuation. You and sibling Jonas, immediate transport to neutral sector. Challenge withdrawn. Accept. Her skin crawled. Private mercy, a leash disguised as safety. Jonas safe, but the forum crushed. Schools gutted, Miss Ree broken for nothing. She could scoop him up, vanish into some off-world limbo. Duty to him won. But the crowd's eyes bored into her, war-scarred faces pleading don't submit. No. Mira's voice rang out, amplified somehow by a loose mic drone. She stepped onto the tribunal platform, facing Carthar directly, his shadow engulfing her. Evacuation's a bribe. We force final adjudication. Here. Public. Now. Tribunal votes, or your whole protocol fractures. Carthar tilted his head, eyes narrowing to slits. The drones backed off a fraction, the crowd holding its breath. Ree gripped the podium edge, whispering fierce, "Mira." But the girl didn't flinch. Push, and risk Jonas, hold back, and doom them all. She'd chosen. The ballots reignited, counselors' fingers hovering. Security tensed. In the back, Mira caught a glimpse of Jonas, wide eyes locked on her, small fist raised like hers. The fracture widened. Mira's thumb slammed the broadcast key before the counselors could commit their votes. The archived messages, Cathar's own words, laced with provisions for invasive biological scans on non-compliant families, erupted across every public terminal in the chamber, then rippled outward to the civic net. Holograms flickered to life above the dais, projecting the general's formal script. Extract genetic markers via dermal. Transfer to oversight if markers indicate resistance profile. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Counselors froze, fingers twitching back from their pads. Mira's heart hammered as she chained the call to her registered witnesses. 3 parents from the school program, their affidavits already queued. Witnesses online, she announced, voice cutting the stunned hush. They'll confirm the hidden clauses. No more secrets. Carthar's segmented eyes narrowed from his elevated throne, mandibles clicking in what Mira knew was restrained fury. The exposure hit like a shockwave. Feeds from the colony's hab blocks lit up with notifications, civilians murmuring as the truth sank in. This wasn't just her fight anymore. The whole populace saw the aliens plan to probe kids like Jonas for defiance genes. 2 armored enforcers, their exosuits humming, pivoted toward the back where Jonas sat rigid on the bleachers. "Subject Halverson," one barked through its vox grill. "Transfer to the Varric ship commences now. Clear the path." Jonas's wide eyes locked on Mira, his small fist still raised but now trembling. The boy scrambled back as the enforcers closed in, their gauntlets clamping his thin shoulders. "Mira," he yelped, voice cracking. She vaulted the barrier before thought could stop her, slamming into the lead enforcer's chest plate. Her shoulder throbbed from the impact, but she wedged herself between them and Jonas, arms splayed. "You touch him, and it's assault under Civic Code 47B. Tribunal's in session, no transfers till ruling." The enforcer shoved. Mira skidded but dug her heels into the grated floor, breath ragged. "Stand down, civilian," it growled, servos whining as it reached past her. She grabbed its arm, twisting with all her weight, futile against the alloy but enough to snag the crowd's attention. Shouts erupted from the stands. A parent lunged forward, then another. The standoff locked. Enforcers halted, optics scanning for protocol breaches, while the tribunal hammered for order. Ree rose from her seat at the administrator's bench, face ashen but jaw set. The teacher's hands shook as she activated her own terminal, voice projecting clear over the chaos. "Tribunal, I confess. The compliance signatures for Halverson's program enrollment, I forged them. All of them. To keep Jonas in human care, away from those provisions." Murmurs turned to uproar. Catar's throne creaked as he leaned forward, hissing, "Fabrication is treason, human. Your license—" "I assume full responsibility," Misri cut in, eyes flicking to Mira and Jonas. "Penalize me, revoke my credentials, shut the school if you must." But the girl acted in good faith. Her family's clean. The tribunal chair, a weary human counselor with alien-appointed stripes, banged his gavel. Admission noted. Debate suspended. Provisions under scrutiny. Mira eased back from the enforcers, chest heaving, Jonas's hand clutching her sleeve. Ms. Ree's sacrifice burned in her gut. The woman who'd shielded dozens of kids, now gutting her own life to buy them time. Flaw exposed. Mira's impulse had dragged innocence into the fire. The chamber vote fractured under the broadcast's weight. Holographic tallies shifted. Cathar's secret biological test clause suspended by 6-2-3-8, the general's mandibles grinding audibly. But victory soured fast. The compromise scrolled up. Limited alien oversight retained in schools in exchange for purging 5 human counselors, defiant voices including Ree's ally on the board. Strategic win, political blood. Faces paled as names flashed. Careers ended, influence gutted. Qatar's voice boomed, unyielding. Provision suspended. Oversight endures. The human pays for her spectacle. Mira's turn came last. The mediator, a neutral alien arbiter with bioluminescent markings, projected the terms. Jonas released to family, but residency restricted. Curfews, monitored comms, weekly check-ins at the precinct. No more lone protests. She'd be tagged for elevated scrutiny. She scanned the terms throat tight. Jonas huddled against her, whispering, "Don't let him take me, Mira. Please." Ree met her gaze from across the room, nodding faintly. Her job gone, but the boys safe. Defiance had cracked the wall. But at what cost? Pushing harder now meant enforcers dragging Jonas away for real. No standoff to save them. "I accept," Mira said, voice steady despite the knot in her chest. The words tasted like ash. Her impulse reined in, forced into the system's grind. No more charging barriers alone. She'd learn the rules, twist them from inside, protect Jonas by playing smarter, not just louder. The arbiter stamped approval. Enforcers released Jonas fully, stepping back as the boy's arms wrapped around Mira's waist. Relief hit like a wave, mingled with the sting of compromise. Counselors slumping in defeat, re-escorted out by security for processing. Her shoulders straight despite the ruin. The last bell tolled through the chamber's vox, signaling session's end. Screens flickered with Cathar's new edict, projected large. Interspecies courts established forthwith. All future defiance adjudicated jointly. Submit petitions via CivicNet. Mira pulled Jonas close, his warmth grounding her as the crowd dispersed. The general's eyes lingered on her, promising the long game. No quick wins left, only institutional trenches, where she'd fight with words, alliances, and the patience she'd never had. Her fist unclenched. The fracture had widened, but now it ran through their system too. She'd adapt, or lose everything.